Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into, well, a surprisingly shiny corner of the global economy. We're talking about the global metallic printing ink market.
That's right. Think fancy packaging, magazine covers, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And our deep dive today uses some fresh projections from cognitive market research, looking right out to 2033. Our goal really is to unpack the key numbers, look at the growth, and, figure out what it tells us about bigger trends.
And it might sound quite specific, metallic ink, but the growth story is actually pretty remarkable.
It really is. Okay, let's just jump into the big picture numbers first. So global sales revenue in 2021, it was just over $2.2 billion, around $2,249 million to be exact.
Yeah, a solid starting point.
But then, get this, it's projected to reach nearly $3 billion, $2,987 million by 2025.
Okay.
And then looking out to 2033, a staggering $5.26 billion. $5,266.81 million.
Wow, so more than doubling from 2021.
Yeah, almost tripling, actually. The compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, is over 7.3%, 7.345% specifically. So how does a market like this, which sounds, kind of niche, how does it grow so fast? What's behind that?
Well, what's fascinating here is it's the consistency, really. That projected growth, 7.3% year on year, it suggests a really robust underlying demand.
Okay.
And it's truly global. You see this trend towards premium packaging everywhere. E-commerce needs eye-catching stuff. Luxury goods are booming. They all want that metallic look.
That makes a lot of sense. Premiumization, yeah. So where is this growth shining brightest then? Let's start regionally. How about North America?
Okay, North America, it's a big piece of the puzzle. Generated just under $610 million back in 2021, so $609.7 million. And that's projected to hit over $1.3 billion by 2033. So $1,327 million. The CAGR there is solid, nearly 6.7%, 6.697%.
At 6.7%. And within North America, the U.S., I assume, is the big player.
Yeah, predictably. The U.S. market was almost $500 million in 2021, $493 million, and looks set to cross $1 billion by 2033. That's about a 6.6% CAGR.
Okay, pretty strong.
But interestingly, Canada actually shows slightly stronger growth percentage-wise. Their CAGR is over 7.4%, going from $64 million to $151 million.
Yeah, okay. And Mexico?
Mexico is looking healthy, too. About a 6.9% CAGR, growing from roughly $52 million to $115 million.
So North America as a whole, it's a pretty stable growing base for this market.
Absolutely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, North America shows this robust, consistent growth. It's like a solid foundation, Mature industries, stable demand.
Got it. Okay, solid foundation there. Let's hop across the Atlantic. Europe. What's the story there?
Right, Europe. Market revenue was close to $500 million in 2021, about $490 million.
Okay.
And that's expected to reach over $1 billion by 2033. $1,084 million, roughly. The CAGR is pretty similar to North America's overall, just under 6.9%, 6.898%.
Okay, almost 7%. But I heard these get a bit more varied within Europe.
Yeah, here's where it gets really interesting, like you said. You see clear differences in growth rates between countries.
Such as?
Well, Germany is kind of the powerhouse here. It's the fastest growing major market in Europe, with a CAGR over 7.5%. It's projected to go from about $104 million to nearly $250 million.
Wow, okay. Germany leading the pack.
The UK and Spain are also showing strong growth. Both have CAGRs over 7%. UK moving from about $78 million to $179 million. Spain from $44 million to nearly $100 million.
Still very healthy numbers.
Definitely. But then you see some other notable economies with slightly lower CAGRs. Think Russia, around 5.6%. France, maybe 6.3%. Even Luxembourg, about 5.4%. Still growing, but just slower.
Right. So that does raise the question, what's causing those differences? Why is Germany growing faster than, say, France in this specific market?
That's a great question. It likely points to different underlying economic or industrial factors. Maybe Germany's manufacturing base, perhaps automotive or high-end goods, just uses more of these premium inks.
Maybe.
While maybe in France or Russia, the industrial mix is different, or consumer packaging trends haven't shifted quite as fast towards that metallic look, or just different economic climates affecting demand for, visual extras.
Fascinating how those national differences show up even in a niche market like this. Okay, so Europe's strong but varied. Where next? Asia Pacific.
Ah, yes. Asia Pacific. Now, this is really the brightest spot. This region is the leader in growth.
What?
It hit almost $800 million in 2021, $787 million, and is projected to soar past $1.9 billion by 2033, almost $2 billion. That's $1,985 million.
Wow.
And it boasts the highest regional CGR overall, just over 8%. 8.022%.
8% CAGR for the whole region. That's huge. Who's driving that? China.
China is definitely a major driver. It's the largest market there, growing from about $213 million to over $500 million, $551 million by 2033. That's an 8.2% CAGR itself. Very strong.
Okay, big numbers from China.
But the real standout, the country with the highest CAGR globally, is India.
India.
Yeah, almost 8.9%. 8.847%. It's projected to grow from around $116 million in 2021 to nearly $320 million by 2033.
Incredible. Nearly 9% growth year on year for over a decade. What's fueling that in India?
It's likely a combination of factors: massive population, rapidly growing middle class, increasing consumer spending power, and a huge boom in demand for branded, visually appealing goods. Plus expanding manufacturing.
Makes sense. A perfect storm for this kind of product.
Exactly. And it's not just China and India. Southeast Asia as a bloc shows really strong growth too, over 8.5% CAGR. Singapore is also high, over 8.4%.
Okay.
And even Japan, which you might think of as a more mature market, is showing a healthy 7.4% CAGR, going from $142 million to over $330 million.
So it's widespread growth across APAC.
Absolutely. What's fascinating here is Asia Pacific is clearly the engine driving this whole market forward. Multiple countries with exceptionally high growth. It just signals rapid development, rising consumerism, and booming packaging industries.
Got it. An incredible growth story there. Okay, let's round out the picture. What about South America, the Middle East, and Africa, the emerging markets?
Yeah, they're definitely part of the story, too, showing significant growth. Let's take South America first.
Okay.
Regional revenue was about $160 million in 2021, and that's projected to hit around $386 million by 2033. That's a CAGR of over 7.6%, so higher than North America or Europe's average.
Interesting. Any standouts there?
Argentina actually shows a very high regional CAGR, over 8.1%, growing from about $29 million to $74 million.
Wow.
And Brazil, the largest market there, is also growing strongly at nearly 7.5% CAGR, expected to go from $70 million to about $168 million.
So South America is pulling its weight, definitely. What about the Middle East?
Middle East is also showing impressive gains. Started at around $108 million in 2021, projected to grow to nearly $260 million by 2033. The CAGR is strong, over 7.5%.
And who leads there?
The UAE is slightly ahead in terms of growth rate, with a AGR of over 8.1%. Turkey is right behind, very strong too, at about 7.8%, both reflecting, expanding industrial bases.
Okay. And finally, Africa.
Africa's contributing too. Started at about $94 million in 2021, projected to reach over $224 million by 2033. That's a CAGR of almost 7%.
Still pretty solid growth.
South Africa has the strongest CAGR in the region, over 7.5%, going from $38 million to nearly $97 million. Nigeria also shows notable growth, around 7.2%.
Okay, so pulling it all together.
Yeah.
What does this global picture tell us? It seems like strong, consistent growth almost everywhere we look.
That's the key takeaway.
It's not just a developed world thing or just an Asia thing. These metallic inks, the demand is, well, it's truly universal.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, these numbers really highlight how widespread that demand is. And you see emerging economies contributing significantly to the dynamism of this, specialized market. It shows that the applications, whether it's for luxury goods or branding or even security features on currency, they're expanding across incredibly diverse global consumers and industries. Everyone seems to want that premium look.
So we've seen how this seemingly specific market, metallic printing ink, isn't just growing, it's really thriving globally. Projected to nearly triple in size between 2021 and 2033.
Remarkable trajectory.
From the solid base in North America and the varied picture in Europe to that, well, explosive growth led by Asia Pacific and strong contributions from South America, the Middle East, and Africa.
Yeah, the numbers consistently point towards robust, widespread demand.
So maybe the final thought for you, our listener, is this. What does this deep dive into something like metallic printing ink tell you about the often unseen engines driving global economic growth?
That's a great point.
And maybe what other quiet sort of niche industries might be out there experiencing similar rapid expansion?
Welcome back. Ever wondered what gives certain product packaging that undeniable pop?
Hmm.
That shimmering, luxurious finish that just, catches your eye?
Yeah.
Chances are you've encountered metallic printing inks. Today, we're doing a deep dive into this surprisingly complex world.
It really is fascinating.
We'll look at what makes them so captivating, what's driving their market, and also the hurdles they face. And all our insights today come from cognitive market research.
Indeed. And this market is experiencing remarkable momentum right now. Industries are constantly looking for new ways to engage you, the consumer.
Right.
And metallic inks offer this unique blend of visual flair and perceived value. It's just incredibly effective.
Okay, so let's unpack this. What's really behind this sparkle? It seems like it's more than just a pretty face.
Oh, definitely.
There must be some powerful forces making metallic inks kind of the new must-have.
Well, the first big driver is simply the increasing demand for, well, aesthetic appeal and premium packaging.
Okay, like what sort of sector?
Yeah, think about it. High-end cosmetics, luxury goods, even gourmet food and beverages. Brands in these sectors are really leveraging metallic inks.
To make their products just stand out on crowded shelves.
Exactly. It's all about that instant visual appeal. Some studies even suggest metallic elements can boost visual attention by like up to 40%.
Wow, 40%. That's significant.
It is. And this isn't just consumer demand driving it. Hand in hand with that is the incredible technological leap we've seen.
In the inks themselves.
In the ink formulations, yeah, and also the printing techniques. What's compelling here is how these advancements are boosting durability, performance, and also making them more cost-effective. Modern methods like, say, flexographic printing.
Right, I've heard of that. Good for flexible stuff.
Exactly. Great for long runs on flexible materials, and even digital printing, which is perfect for short, customizable batches.
Oh, okay.
They now allow for really unprecedented precision and richer, more vibrant colors.
Yeah.
It makes complex metallic designs just far more accessible than they used to be.
And this new accessibility couldn't be better timed, could it? Especially with, the huge shift towards online retail.
Absolutely.
The rise of e-commerce, innovative packaging. It seems like it's really fueled the demand for packaging that's not just eye-catching, but also durable.
Right. It needs to grab you when you're scrolling online.
Yeah.
And it needs to withstand the bumps and jostles of shipping.
Makes sense.
Metallic inks help with both that visual allure and that perceived quality that tells you, hey, this product is worth it.
Okay. But it can't all be smooth sailing, right? What's fascinating here is that despite all this growth, there must be challenges.
Oh, absolutely. There are significant challenges. The first, and maybe the most obvious one, is the cost. These metallic inks are just more expensive than standard options.
Why is that? The materials?
Yeah, partly the raw materials are more expensive, and the production processes are pretty sophisticated.
Right.
Which, can be a real barrier for smaller businesses, SMEs, especially if they're in really price-sensitive markets.
That makes perfect sense for a startup trying to keep costs down. But beyond just the expense, I imagine the manufacturing, maybe environmental concerns pop up.
Precisely. That brings us neatly to the second challenge, environmental issues and regulatory compliance. Metallic inks can sometimes contain things like heavy metals, solvents, other chemicals.
Not great for the environment.
No. And that makes adhering to increasingly tight global standards pretty complex. Think regulations on VOCs, volatile organic compounds.
And airborne chemicals, right?
Exactly. Often associated with traditional solvent-based inks. Meeting those standards is a real challenge for manufacturers.
Okay, so cost, environment. What about the actual printing? Do these inks work on everything? Do they play nice with all surfaces?
Not always, and that's the third restraint. Limited compatibility with certain substrates.
Substrates. Fancy word for the material you print on.
That's it, yeah. Like plastic films or specific papers. Metallic inks don't always stick well to non-porous surfaces or unconventional materials.
Leading to patchy results.
It can lead to inconsistent print quality, yeah.
Yeah.
Often, it means you need specialized coatings or specific substrates.
Adding more complexity.
And cost, exactly. It really makes you appreciate the engineering behind even something as simple as a shiny label.
So, okay, if we look ahead then, what does this all mean for the future? It sounds like people are working on these challenges.
Absolutely. One really notable development is a big push towards sustainable and eco-friendly metallic inks.
Makes sense.
Manufacturers are focusing hard on water-based and solvent-free formulations, trying to reduce that environmental impact and comply with those VOC regulations we mentioned.
So greener shininess.
Kind of, yeah. It's a necessary evolution.
And you mentioned digital printing earlier. Is that becoming bigger for metallics?
Yes, the rise of digital printing using metallic effects is another, game changer. It offers much greater flexibility, customization.
Without needing those old-style printing plates.
Exactly. Which is great for short production runs, personalized products. It gives brands incredible versatility. And finally, we're just seeing an accelerating adoption overall, largely driven by, well, continued expansion in packaging and that constant push for brand distinction.
Right. Companies want to stand out.
Yeah, companies in food and beverage, cosmetics, pharma,
Yeah.
they're really embracing these striking designs to signal luxury, exclusivity, superior quality.
Helping them differentiate in really competitive markets.
Precisely.
So we've just taken a deep dive into this dynamic world of metallic printing inks. We've looked at the growth drivers, the hurdles, and some of the exciting innovations happening.
And as you look around, maybe at the products you interact with every day, just consider how this visual landscape might keep evolving, making maybe every purchase feel a bit more luxurious or more personalized. And think about what that continued evolution signals about brand communication, what companies really want to tell you beyond just the product itself.
That's a great thought to leave with. And remember, all the data and analysis we share today came directly from cognitive market research. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.